Up next is a great way of using any leftover rice that you might have from yesterday. We're going to use a couple of very simple ingredients that you probably already have in your fridge, and we're going to end up with a really tasty, simple stir-fried rice. To start off the fried rice, I've got a nice big frying pan and it's going on to quite a high heat. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to cook our little eggs. So just crack them in there, little fork, whisk them together. Now this is basically the same process as making an omelette. It's going to be very, very quick, very simple. A little bit of oil to start, just so it doesn't stick. Now what I have is a nice little spatula. The whole process should take less than 20 seconds. In goes the egg. Spread it out around your pan by shaking it like that. We're going to let it coagulate for about 3 or 4 seconds. You can see it's starting to set. Now using the spatula, start moving it around. And what we're going to end up with is lovely little pieces of egg to go into our stir fry. That's it. Take it off the heat. Such a quick process. Now I've got a little plate and we're just going to set that egg aside for later on. Now before we go any further, a little damp cloth or tea towel. Wipe your pan out. Now a little bit of peanut oil I'm using here. Peanut oil is fantastic because it's got quite a high smoking point. And what we want to do is we really want to get a lovely big flame underneath there so we can cook everything really fast. Now what we're using is yesterday's rice. You can see it in there. I've already cooked it and it's a long grain rice. So lovely big heat. My pan's on there. I'm going to start off by getting my onions in there. So I've just diced a red onion. I'm also going to put my garlic in there and my ginger. Now you can see that's cooking quite fast. That's really what I'm looking for. We're going to sweat those off and get all the lovely flavours going on in there for about the next minute to minute and a half. You can see now that those onions are really starting to soften up. They're becoming translucent, so we're going to add in our vegetables. Now the beauty of stir-fried rice is you choose what goes in there. I'm going with a few little courgettes and some nice mushrooms today. But you could put any sort of vegetable in there. You could maybe have some little broccoli florets, asparagus tips, whatever takes your fancy. So I'm just tossing that around. We're still working on quite a high heat. If you're not comfortable tossing it like that, you can always just use your little spatula to move it around. So I'm just going to let those vegetables soften up for about a further minute before we start adding the next ingredients. Now the great thing about fried rice is that if you put a couple of meats in there, I'm actually going to put some prawns and some ham in today. It's nearly a meal in itself, and I'd be happy just eating a bowl of that. But a lot of people also like to combine it with something else. You could have a little chicken breast, a little piece of fish. But there really is, with your vegetables, your meats, I think more than enough to fill you up in there. So the next ingredient that I'm putting in are my prawns. I'm also going to add a little bit of chopped ham. Now if you wanted a vegetarian version of this dish, totally bypass this stage. Don't go with any ham or any prawns. You can see those prawns are already starting to colour up a little bit. You just want them to take on that nice pinkish colour. And by the time we add the rice in there and our eggs, they'll be perfectly cooked and really nice and tender. Next thing that goes in there, some spring onion. That's going to bring it to life, give it a nice little flavour and add lots of nice colour. Now we're just about ready to add our rice in. What I've done is I've just made sure with my spatula that I've broken up the rice, because what happens sometimes is you might get big clumps of rice when it sits in the fridge. It just might be a big clump. So just bash it down with your spatula and it's ready to go in. We basically want to make sure that that oil coats all the rice nice and evenly. Starting to look really good now, lots of nice colours in there. So it's time to add my egg back in. I'm also going to use this as a great opportunity to season my fried rice. So a little bit of white pepper. Also some salt. And give it a little toss. You can really see it frying up. My prawns are nicely cooked. Just a couple more things to go in there now. I'm going to start off with some soy sauce. Now if you want a little tip, if you're trying to be healthier, look for a low sodium soy sauce. And then the last thing to finish that off is some nice chopped coriander. That's going to bring some really vivacious colours to it. It's going to add a nice extra dimension. A couple more tosses. I'm getting a really fierce smell off that. That's fantastic. Look at the colours in there. What a nice little way to use up your leftovers.